off reminder, 3.3 worksheet is due today. Make sure we're getting that turned in. Otherwise, one of the things I told you in chapter 2 is that proofs would be coming back. And guess what? We're there. And proofs will continue to come back in our following chapters. They're not going away completely anytime soon. So we are on page 11 of our notes packet. We've got our postulate sheets, because those postulate sheets are going to give me kind of where I can go with my known theorems. Now, there's some things that are basic just to proofs that are not necessarily to our new style proofs. First off, I have 2 columns when it comes to the proofs that we do in here anyway. Darnell, do you remember what the titles of those columns are? We just tend to do 2 letters.
S and R.
You're not Darnell, but you are not wrong.
I didn't use it. I know that.
It's okay. Okay, so we've got S and we've got R. Peyton, what starts every single proof? The given information. Given is the reason, and the given information I'm given here, line M is parallel to line N. Now you are welcome just to do the lowercase letters on that if you'd like to leave off the word line. We've moved into a position where now if we're going to use the lowercase letter for a line, we've used it enough to where we don't have to write the word line. Doesn't hurt to write it. It's not wrong. Measure of angle EFH equals 129 degrees is a given, and the measure of angle BEF equals 4x plus 1. Remember, you don't actually need the degree symbol going into the proof itself. I don't know why I actually wrote it on the 129. And you also don't need the parentheses if their only purpose is to hold that degree symbol. Now when it comes to my proofs, I told you to look for 5 things. 5 things to look for that kind of help you with where to go next if you don't know where to go. What's the first one? Words. Do we have any words in our proof? No. Second thing. Symbols. This should be on your orange sheet, which you should have out. Symbols. Do we have any symbols? Yes, we have a parallel symbol. So, this is a newer one to our proofs. We haven't come across the parallel symbol yet because the parallel symbol wasn't anywhere on the orange sheet. But it is on the yellow one. We have an entire section of our yellow postulate sheet that talks about given parallel lines. But it also says and a diagram, because to figure out which of these 4 postulates or theorems that you need to use when you come across parallel, you have to use the diagram to ask yourself, what angles am I talking about? Angle EFH. Now, thankfully, this picture's got them marked, but they won't always be marked. And angle BEF. In fact, when they're not marked, I just tend to put a dot on them. If they are marked, they're already marked. I have to determine what kind of angle pairing those are. We have corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior, or consecutive interior angles. Again, if you are struggling with identifying those angle pairs, use this picture to your advantage. Line it up the same way this one lines up with a transversal. So going sideways. The angle is this one here, which is 4, and this one here, which is 5. 4 and 5 are alternate interior angles. Now, many of you probably could have done that without lining up with this sheet, but that is meant to be something that helps. Now, do you notice that it says that they are congruent on the postulate sheet? Yes, no, maybe. Do we notice it's a congruent symbol and not an equal sign? Do you notice that it's giving the name of the angle and not its measurement? It didn't put like 50 degrees. It said angle 4. It said angle 5. Now, why am I emphasizing that? Because in a proof, remember, you have to do the steps exactly as the postulate sheets say you can do them, which means the moment I recognize those are alternate interior angles, I have to write that they're congruent, and I have to do it by name. The names of those angles were EFH and BEF. When you're solving, you didn't have to do that. You jump directly to, oh, they're congruent, that means they're equal, so 129 equals 4x plus 1, and then you solve. But this is a proof. So you have to have all those steps. The theorem we just used was the alternate interior angle theorem, because we recognized there were alternate interior angles of parallel lines. Now note, these 4 theorems and postulates can only be used if you see a parallel symbol in your proof. I do see a parallel symbol, hence I was allowed to use it. I go back to my 5 things. Did I add words to my thing now? No. Do I have symbols still? I took care of the parallel symbol, added a congruent symbol. I don't like congruent symbols. Congruent symbols are hard to work with. I want to get rid of it. Congruent means they're equal, right? That's what we can do next. We can change that to an equal sign. But we still have to do it with their names. We also have to make sure that when we're adding equal signs to this, remember when we're working with angles, angles can only have equal signs if they have the little m in front of their angle name. Now that's what congruent means, and if it's what something means, it's a definition. Specifically, it's a definition that's on your orange sheet. It's the definition of congruent, because it's what congruent means. So definition, I tend to leave off the word of because I get lazy and I just write congruent. If I don't know where to go next, I go back to my 5 things. I don't have words still. I took care of both symbols I have. The parallel and the congruent were taken care of. Parallel gave me congruent, congruent gave me equal. Third thing we look for. Substitution or transitive properties. Do you see the same thing popping up in 2 places on the proof? Specifically with equal signs involved. Like a measure of angle EFH. Maybe a measure of angle BEF. Beth, not beef. Beth. Okay. I can replace these with what they're equal to. Make sure you're putting them in the right spot. EFH went first, which means 129 went first. Even if we'd prefer to put the other one first, we can't. BEF went second, 4x plus 1 goes second. Replacing something with what it's equal to is substitution. Now at this point, most people know to look for the 4th thing that can come up in a proof. Algebra. Once you get here, you do algebra. But we had to make sure we did these other things first. Okay. So I'm gonna do a little bit of algebra. Jackson, what's step 5?
Subtract.
Subtract what? The 1. Now, one of the common things I saw popping up on previous tests and previous quizzes that I want to emphasize again, the little -1 that you write is not a step in the proof. You don't even have to write it. In fact, I don't generally. The step itself is when you get the 128 equals 4x. And I was told that that was subtraction. Piper, what would you tell me to do next? Divide by 4. Again, the divide by 4, writing that out is not the step in the proof. The step in the proof is what you get as a result of that division. I get 32, I get x. That was divide. Am I done with my proof? No. What do I need to do? It's not a log. It's symmetry. It's a property, symmetric property of equality that says I flip it around. Now there's some things that are a little bit different. But is this drastically different than the proofs we've already done? No. We've added some more properties. But that's all we've done. We haven't actually changed what we do within the proof. Okay. Moving on. I got 2 columns. They are S, they are R. And every single proof, regardless of the proof, starts with what? Givens. I have 3 givens here. RF parallel to HG. Measure angle ERF equals 8x minus 2. Measure angle HGV equals 7x plus 7. Again, you should be numbering both sides of your proof. If you are a person who forgets to number both sides, then you should be doing this. And I go to my 5 things that I look for. Kylie. First of the 5 things I look for is words. Do you see words? Second thing I look for is symbols. Do you see symbols? What symbol? This one means parallel. Parallel symbol. Which postulate sheet holds the parallel symbol? Orange or yellow? I'm hearing people say orange. Okay, parallel, 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 parallel. I don't see parallel. Flip it over. Parallel, parallel, parallel. I don't see parallel. Is it on the orange one? How? Do I see parallel on here? I see it in 4 places. Which 4 I need to use depends upon which angle pairing I have. Now, these ones are marked in my picture for me, which is kind of nice of them. Haley, Birch. What kind of angle pairing are those 2? Okay, so we line up our picture, right? There's the transversal, there's the transversal. Which 2 numbered angles on this picture correspond with where those are located? This one's the upper corner. Upper corner over here is 2. Bottom left corner?
3.
2 and 7? Do you see 2 and 7 paired up anywhere here? They're alternate exterior angles. You got it. So we're going to use the alternate exterior angle theorem. Yes, you need to have the theorem or the postulate after that, not just AEA. Alternate exterior angles is the angle type. Alternate exterior angle theorem is the theorem we used. This theorem says they are congruent by name. Charlie, what are the names of each of those angles? The yellow sheet's not going to help you with this piece, because I'm just asking you what their names are. Names go either by letters or by numbers. If there's not a measurement there, it's not numbers here. Three letters. ERF. And you can always use what's in your proof to help you. That's one of them. Charlie, there's one more though. What's the other one's name? HGV, you got it. Have to do that first. Again, you should either number or you should draw the lines through. You can do both. Diego. I have a congruent symbol. Do I like a congruent symbol? What can I change it to? It already is congruent.
Equals.
I can change it to an equals. Now, when I do this, still on you though, Diego. What am I missing when I write it like this though?
Measures.
The little measures. I need the little m's. Aiden. What property changes congruent to equal? Nope. That comes next. Look on your orange sheet. Look for the congruent symbol. Definition of? Congruent. Changing a congruent to an equal is a definition of congruent. Aaliyah. What do you think I should do next? Substitution. Plug stuff in. Instead of ERF, 8x minus 2. Equals. Instead of measure of HGV, 7x plus 7. And that is substitution. Make sure on substitution you're going all the way to the S at least. From here it's algebra. Jada. What would you like me to do now? Add 2 to both sides. I end up with 8x equals 7x plus 9. It was adding that we did. Mariana, what would you like me to do next? Ooh, but they're both positive, and if I want to move them across, I'm not adding, I'm subtracting the 7x from both sides. 8x minus 7x is x equals, I'm left with 9. Am I done? No. What do I need to do yet? Find the measurement of HGV, which means I need to plug back in. Measure of angle HGV equals 7, except instead of x, I'm going to put 9 plus 7. I'm plugging back in. Plugging back in is called what? It's substitution. Replacing something with what it's equal to is substitution, whether it's a number or it's an expression. Last thing I do is I actually do the math. Measure of angle HGV. 7 times 9 is 63, plus 7 is 70. Is that what I wanted it to be? Yes. Means we did our math right. What's that last step called, though? Think I heard it, but I'm not positive. Simplify. Gesundheit. I believe we have 2 more on the backside, and then we are done with notes today. I know I'm frozen right now. I'm still going to start drawing the same things. I'm going to draw in my 2 columns. One of the things you have probably noticed that I've seen some of y'all doing. Do you notice that I make my 2 columns kind of large? It's a lot easier to write when they're large. Some of y'all are trying to make like the smallest 2 columns in the world, and it becomes really hard to write. I do recommend you use the space I give you, because I give you that big one for a reason. Guess what? I'm going to start with my given. Sweet. I got 1 point. I wrote given. Make sure you get your entire given. That's another common thing I saw in chapter 2 is people wrote part of the given and not the entire thing. I don't care if the given has symbols, it has words, it has expressions, you write all of it. Guess what? I see a parallel symbol. Parallel symbol makes me think I'm working with an angle pair. If I can't identify the angle pairs easily, I line up with this picture to help me out. Make sure the transversal's going the same-ish way. And identify the angle pair. Brody, what kind of angle pairing are those 2 angles? So which locations do these 2 line up with on this picture? What 2 numbers?
What?
With where these 2 are located, they line up with which 2 numbered angles here? You got it? Do you see 3 and 5 together anywhere along this? Consecutive interior angles theorem. They are consecutive interior angles. You got it. Now this one's the different one. This is the one that says they're supplementary. And that's exactly what it says in the theorem itself, which means that's what I have to put here. I put them by name and say they are supplementary. Their names are angle HRY and angle RYT. And I write that they are supplementary. That is what the theorem allows me to write. It doesn't allow me to write what supplementary means. It doesn't allow me to write that that the 19x minus 3 plus 8x minus 6 equals 180, it says I can write that they are supplementary. That's all the theorem allows me to write. From there, if I don't know where to go next, I look back to my 5 things. I've now added a word to my proof. I've added the word supplementary. Or I shorten it down to sup, but it means it's supplementary. If I see a word, I look for it on the postulate sheets. Which postulate sheet's going to have the word supplementary on it? The orange one. Has it right here. Definition of supplementary. If I see that 2 angles are supplementary, that's what I got right here, then I can write the measure of those angles added together equals 180 by name. Measure angle HRY plus measure angle RYT equals 180. Have to do it by name. Have to do it by name. It's the most common thing that people skip in these proofs. Now, if you do end up skipping that in these proofs, if you go automatically to writing the equation and then solving the equation, if you justify all your solving of your equations, you're still going to get most of the points in the proof. You're going to lose some. You miss some steps. But you're still going to get most of it. So if you can at least get the actual math down, you're doing better than nothing. That was definition of supplementary. Again, I tend to leave off the word of. I don't care about the word of. I look for def to tell me its definition. I look for sup to tell me what you're defining. And I go right back to my 5 things. If I don't know what to do next, I always go back to the 5 things. First thing's words. I had supplementary. I used it. Next thing, symbols. I had parallel. I used it. Next thing, substitution and transitive property. Do I have things I can replace? Yes. I have that. And I have this. HRY was 19x minus 3 plus RYT was 8x minus 6 equal to 180. If it's an equal sign, I can always just say it was substitution. We'll talk about transitive property a little bit more in the future. That one comes up more in chapter 5. And from here I'm doing algebra. Zion, this is my equation. What would you tell me to do next with it? Sorry, I didn't realize I was ahead of you. Go ahead and finish writing what you got down. It's algebra. You know this. I know you know this. Do you need to see there's multiple x's here? Can I put them together? Yeah, we're going to simplify. We're going to simplify things down. We're going to combine our like terms. 19x and 8x together is a 27x. Negative 3 and negative 6. They're both negative. It's negative 9. Ava, now what? 27x equals 189. And you said that was adding, and I agree. Haley, Bagan. I got 27x equals 189. How do I finish it? I still gotta get rid of the 27 in front of the x. Divide. Divide by 27. X equals. It claims to be 7. Is it 7? Yeah. And that was divide. one final example today. Y'all know how I'm gonna start it. I'm gonna write my givens. That piece has not changed. If I don't know where to go next, I still go back to my 5 things. I'll give you a second to write things down though, because I've realized I'm writing ahead of y'all a little bit. Other words. Not a single word in there. Are there symbols? Not the important symbols. Substitution or transitive. Am I seeing the same thing pop up twice? Or I can do some replacing? No. Is there algebra to do? Not with the way it's written. There is a picture. Now pictures, things that come purely from pictures are on both postulate sheets. Top of the back of the orange and the top of the yellow. These 4 pictures. Now this one, the segment addition postulate, deals with segments. Those are angles. It's not helpful. I've got angles that are adjacent to one another, linear pairs, and vertical angles to work with. Talking that angle and that angle. See the X forming with those angles? And they're across from it. Looks kind of like angle 3 and 4 in this picture. They're vertical angles. According to the vertical angle theorem, I can call them by name to be congruent. Vertical angle theorem. By name, well, the names are right here. Angle DFW is congruent to angle PFZ. Cam! Cam! I like a congruent symbol. Cameron, what does congruent mean? It's a fancy way of saying another symbol that we like in math. Starts with an E. Means equal. I can change congruent to equal because that's what congruent means. When I do that with angles, in front of the angle symbols, I better put an M. If it is what something means, it is a definition. The thing that we're saying means equal was the congruent symbol. Therefore, it's the definition of congruent. If you're not positive about that, my congruent symbol is on my orange sheet that says I can change from congruent to equal. are you? Comes next. I kind of assumed that's what you meant, but yeah, we're gonna do substitution. We're gonna change those names into what they actually are. 5x plus 5 equals 4x plus 14. From here, I'm doing algebra. I've got an equation now. I can do algebra with it. I seem to have lost some of my name cards because some of y'all did not get called up. Now what? That 5 or that 5? Got it. Okay, subtract the 5. 5x equals 4x. Subtracting the 5 is not the step, but that gives me 9. Piper, what should come next? Subtract the 4x. I don't know who taught y'all to move the numbers before the x's, but y'all do that a lot. It works. But it's gonna mess with things in certain types of problems. Okay, x equals 9. Am I done? No, it's not what I'm looking for. I need to plug back in, which is substitution. I'm plugging back in. I want DFW, so the measure of angle DFW equals, it was 5x plus 5, which is 5 now times 9 plus 5. 5 times 9 is 45, add 5 is 50, which is what we wanted. Actually doing that math, what's the step called? Yep, simplify. I know, it's been a hot minute since y'all had to do math. I got a worksheet for y'all today, 3.4 worksheet 2. I'm going to pause on writing